We had the most incredible drama in the Superbet Blitz and Rapid Day 5. So it came down to literally the final round. Magnus Carlsen was out in front, but Jan Krzysztof Duda was chasing, and if Duda won the game, he'd take it level with Magnus and it would go to tie breaks. What was going to happen? Well, don't go anywhere. Magnus kicks off with e4. Duda goes for a Sicilian, and now we get knight f3, b6, so a crazy sideline, Duda trying to mix it up already from the start. Now we get bishop b7, hits that pawn, Magnus defends, and a6, still no extra pieces developed, and after bishop g5, queen c7, still not developing minor pieces, still not sorting out the king, Duda breaking all the opening principles, right? Now we get knight d5, played by Magnus. So he hits this queen, and if you capture, well, his idea is that if you check and try and pick up some material, then after the bishop drops back, queen takes, there's bishop e2, and you're hitting a monster diagonal. White's got huge compensation for the pawn, and definitely don't take a second one or you're running into this. So we didn't see bishop captures on d5, we see queen e5, hitting the bishop, hitting the pawn. And if the knight takes here to hit the rook, then it sets a sneaky trap of queen a5 check, picking up the knight. So instead, we see the bishop drop back to e3, and again Magnus is setting this trap. If you take with the queen, bishop e2, and we're coming to this diagonal once again. Sorry, if takes here, now there's knight c7 check, but that's the other theme in the position, is the bishop coming here. But right now the queen has to stay with this c7 square, and that's why this next move is not so good. It's pawn e6, because Duda wants to get rid of that knight, but he's missed this retreating knight move from Magnus of knight f3. The backwards ones are the hardest to spot, they say. Now, if you try and go queen d6 and stay with the square, well, now you're running into bishop f4, you can't avoid giving ground, and now you can check and you're supported by the bishop. So instead, Duda takes the pawn, but he's plus 2.5 worse now. Magnus is ahead, because now we get the check, the king goes, and the rook drops off the board. Magnus in full control after just 11 moves. So queen d4 now played. Targets the pawn on b6. You couldn't take it with the bishop yet because it's pinned to the king. We get pawn b5 played, and now Magnus just steadily plays inaccurate moves. You can see the nerves. So he should check here. It's the best way, because if the king goes to e8, you check and you can pick up a knight. If it comes to d8, well, then you can pick up this bishop here. And so best is d6. You can check. Yes, the knight can block, but after castles queenside, you get a huge attack as white. But what does Magnus do? He flings the a pawn. Now it makes some sense, but things get a bit weird now. So the queens come off. The knight recaptures, pressuring this pawn. It kicks onto b4, and now a5 fixes this one as a weakness, but you can just see the eval bar dropping. The computer wanted bishop f4. Now we get knight f6 developing. Knight b3 from Magnus eyes the c5 square. Knight d5 played, hits that bishop, and again the most obvious moves like bishop d4, bishop d2, they're the top ones, but Magnus goes bishop a7. Now there's a really logical idea in mind. Hit that knight, force it to develop, and now it's no longer defending this pawn, but you are helping black develop with tempo now. So Magnus drops this bishop back. We see pawn g5 played. Duda doesn't rush to take this one. He wants to develop first. And now bishop takes on a6, bishop g7, hitting the b2 pawn, and Magnus covers with the rook. So you can now take here as Duda. That's the top move, but he starts with rook to b8. Bishop e2 from Magnus, neither player playing the most precise stuff. And now knight takes on b6, pawn recaptures, and Duda doesn't hurry to recapture. He lands the knight on d4, also opens up this bishop. So Magnus takes, the bishop recaptures, and now that bishop pair are getting very powerful, and Magnus says, you know what, bishop f3, I want to just trade one of them off. even at the cost of the pawn structure. And his thoughts here are that I'm an exchanger, so what if my pawn structure is compromised? Now Duda flicks in b3, hits both of those points, so it forces recaptures. Now he takes on b6. Magnus liquidates this weak h pawn. We get this sequence and king e2. This pawn drops, couldn't be saved. If the rook went, then this one goes. And now, long story short, this pawn on b2 is not long for this world. Duda doesn't take it straight away, but I'm just going to run through this sequence quite quickly. This is a 125 move game, but eventually this pawn drops, the bishop recaptures, and we reach this fascinating endgame of rook against bishop and two pawns, because we soon see these white pawns liquidated for a couple of black ones. So I'm flicking through these moves. I'll just fast forward to that, get to this moment here, and now move 51. This is the position. So how is Magnus going to draw this one? Because only black can win. Even if you took the pawns off the board, then bishop against rook is a theoretical draw. So how does black win? We'll try and get these ones rolling down the board together, hand in hand, but without allowing your bishop to drop due to some, skewer to the king or something, and without allowing your king to get constantly checked or one of the pawns to fall. There's a lot to that I said, but you have to find the right setup basically. So we get a whole load of shuffling around, Duda finding the right moment to advance these pawns. Now he gets them to the fourth, very good. Then he gets checked. And to start with, Magnus goes with this thing of just keeping the king cut, not letting it into that fifth rank. Now he comes to the third rank. And the idea here is that if you advance, well, now you can just chop, pawn recaptures, king goes, it's a draw. So you can't advance those pawns. Well, here comes the king. Magnus checks, the king goes, and now the rook switches to the other side of the board. If I just come back here, there were no other squares here to stay on this side. So it switches here, stays on the third, in marches the king, and while Magnus has been defending brilliantly, here he just makes a mistake. Because after king b4, he should play something like rook to h5. And even though black can check, the king can step back and you can't carry on advancing the pawns, or the rook comes here, skewers the bishop. This is the kind of thing I was mentioning. And if you don't advance the pawn, you bring the king back. Well, okay, you can still do this. Still the pawn is dropping when the king moves. So this was the way to go, rook h5. But Magnus, with seconds on the clock, he brings the rook behind the pawn. But now king c4 from Duda hits the rook, it moves away, and now d3 check, king d1, and this is winning for black if Duda finds the right move, but he fails to do so. What he should do here is bishop d6, with the idea being that the rook can't now come to the fourth because the bishop covers that square, can't come to the third because the pawn covers that square, and if black just gets a move or so more, these pawns are really rumbling. So white could hit the bishop, but then it comes to e5, the rook can go somewhere, but now the king comes in. And this kind of construction is just deadly. You can't stop these pawns from advancing. The king's in such a good position. I won't keep going and going. You have to find the right way to do it as black. But this is a winning position. However, Duda, he goes bishop g3. But now Magnus can move the rook with a tempo against the bishop. So after the bishop moves, he's now in good shape again. He's stopped the pawn advancing. So we'll keep whizzing through. Again here, rook g8, losing move apparently. Okay, this time bishop d4 did it. But Duda goes king d4. You just can't criticize these guys. They're on seconds. But we now get tons of moves, like 50 moves almost, where Magnus just holds the fort. Duda can't make any progress. We're going to go all the way through here, somewhere around move 120. It just keeps going and going and going, rumbling on, both players on seconds. And then when we get to here, move 116, here Magnus apparently should go rook g6 or rook h6. He goes rook e8, But now this is a losing move, because this time there's bishop c7 apparently, or bishop b6. I guess it's once again about trying to create this construction basically, where the king comes to c4, bishop c5, and you march the pawns. That's generally the theme that occurs when I've been clicking around. But okay, the king comes in here. Once again, it's not winning. The bishop goes, rook c8. Oh, it is winning again. I mean, this is just nuts, right? They're playing blitz chess. But now we get check, and we're coming towards the final moves of the game. Because here, after the bishop is harassed, Duda goes bishop to g7, but it allows Magnus to come behind the pawn, and that is a complete draw. You cannot save this pawn, of course. Doesn't matter what you do. So the king comes in, the pawn drops, the players agree a draw, and this was the final standing ovation for Magnus Carlsen.
Oh,
Wow.
what a okay. That was a great fight. You gotta applaud Duda.
Yeah.
He came back from a terrible opening and nearly pulled it off. I was wrong. All my predictions this tournament have failed. I thought a playoff.
Magnus can finally relax.
So he wins the Superbet, Rapid and Blitz. This is the final standings. Huge congratulations to Magnus. Thoroughly deserved on that Blitz performance. I hope you enjoyed, and do check out the video on screen if you want to see another epic game of chess. Thanks very much for watching, and see you soon.